Powered by the Montana Television Network. This is the 5:30 News on Q2, Montana's news leader.
Good evening, everyone. Thanks for joining us. I'm Jeanelle Slade. Russ is on assignment. Well, tonight, 2 men are charged with homicide in connection with a weekend murder in a Ballantine motel room. Prosecutors say the situation that left 53-year-old Carl Archer Jr. dead was an apparent drug deal gone bad. Well, court documents revealing more details tonight as both suspects appear in court, and authorities say they have located a murder weapon. Prosecutors say surveillance video shows 32-year-old James Eater approach the Tigertown Motel around 3 a.m. Saturday with a rifle in hand. Now, 2 women told police they were in a room with Archer to buy meth. They heard a knock on the door and the door opened, and Eater allegedly shot Archer in the head. Eater faces up to life in prison for deliberate homicide. His bail set at $500,000. And 29-year-old Charlie Reimers is charged with deliberate homicide by accountability. Prosecutors say Reimers did not pull the trigger, but was driving the van and allegedly tried to stash it after the crime. The judge set Reimers' bond at $200,000. Authorities arrested Reimers in Lockwood and Eater in Billings on Sunday. Now, a woman told authorities that Eater admitted to her that he had been in Ballantine the night before, planned to rob someone, but things went south, and so he blew a guy's head off with a shotgun. Investigators found a shotgun in the backyard. Well, right now, if you complete your criminal sentence or supervision in Montana, or even if you are exonerated of your crime, you may still show up on the State Department of Corrections Conn Webb public database for another 3 years. Now, ex-offenders and their supporters say it can be a significant barrier to finding a job or even housing. But as MTN's Mike Dennison reports, the state's policy is about to change.
Jerry Marble of Conrad has a son who's no longer under state supervision for a 7-year-old drug conviction, and another son who's been exonerated on a rape charge and freed from prison. But they're still listed on Conn Webb, the state's public website and database of criminal offenders.
For my sons and anyone, it affects their employment opportunities. It affects their housing opportunities. After they've fulfilled their debt to society, they're released from the Department of Corrections. They're no longer subject to the Department of Corrections. Then why should they be on that list?
Marble asked state corrections officials a year ago to take his sons off the list, but they would not. But last week, after inquiries from NTN News, the department said it has changed its mind. As of January 1st next year, the Department of Corrections says it will remove from Conn Webb any ex-offender whose sentence is completed or who is no longer under agency supervision. Correction officials say they're responding to concerns raised by ex-offenders and that the move could help people stay clean and out of the correctional system. Zeke Campfield of the Missoula Interfaith Collaborative says having ex-cons on Conn Webb was never a good idea and went beyond the sentence decided by a judge.
A judge never decided that someone had to carry this badge on their chest beyond the limits of the sentence that they were given. And so what we're doing here is we're actually continuing the punishment beyond what a judge has decided the punishment needs to be.
The department began Conn Webb in 2002 and had made an administrative decision to keep offenders on the system for 3 years after their release. But some of the people still on Conn Webb include people whose entire conviction has been overturned, but it still lists them as released. But starting this January, they'll no longer be listed at all. Reporting from Helena, Mike Dennison, MTN News.
Thanks, Mike. And the director of the Montana Innocence Project commended the department today for, as he put it, doing the right thing. Well, just 1 day after flames tore through a Lockwood recycling plant, causing more than $1 million in damage, the employees are back on site picking up the pieces. As Q2's Zoe Zandoro reports, the team at Pacific Recycling is trying to get back on track.
The shocking as quick as it moved and the intensity of it.
That intensity, a blazing fire that smoked out Lockwood Monday morning, now smothering embers at Pacific Waste and Recycling. A fire that Jason Heath says you prepare for the best you can.
Got people in place to where they should have been right away. Just like I said, the intensity of it really uphill battle for us.
A fire that caused over $1 million in damage at Pacific Recycling in Lockwood hasn't hindered the business, and according to Jason Heath, he says it shouldn't discourage you from bringing in your materials.
Still, get the other parts of that machine online and still keep doing business as usual as far as the other line, but we're working on a plan what we're going to do with the rest of what that facility that burned does for us.
What was the building that burned down, and will it affect business for Pacific Waste and Recycling?
Our auto shredder sorts non-ferrous materials, so predominantly the one that burned is sorting our aluminums out of that shredder, so everything to do with that sortation process.
He says they'll just have to work through what to do with the rest of the materials that need sorting out.
We did everything we were supposed to. The fire departments were incredible. Their response time was great. They had lots of tenders and rigs out here, so they did the best they could for us as well.
In Lockwood, Zoe Zandora, MTN News.
Thanks, Zoe. And Zoe tells us there was one person injured in the fire, but he refused to be transported to the hospital and is doing okay. Well, on the weather scene tonight, Q2 Chief Forecaster Bob McGuire joining us. And Bob, it was a beautiful day, but there is a storm a-brewing.
Oh, yeah, we got it at 53 degrees in the Billings area.
Yes.
It was a great day, but now we're talking an Arctic cold front coming in. And take a look at the Doppler radar. You can see the snow already making its way from Havre to Glasgow to Jordan. It's just a matter of time when it starts making its way into the Billings area. So what we have here is a winter weather advisory. Goes in effect at 8 o'clock tonight and goes until 11 a.m. tomorrow morning. Looking for 1 to 3 inches of snow in some of the lower elevations, maybe as much as 5 up in some of the foothills of the mountains and things like that. But here's what you're going to see. This is the high-resolution forecast model. You know this snow and ice. This is not so much a heavy snow event, but it's going to be icing road event here. So the snow will fall, it'll melt a little bit, and then refreeze as the cold Arctic air moves in behind it. We think that thing will start making its way into the Billings area about 8:30, maybe 9 o'clock tonight, and then it's going to snow and ice overnight, all night, and even into tomorrow morning, and then you'll notice the thing kicks out of here by maybe 3:30 tomorrow afternoon. How much snow are we talking about? Maybe 1 to 2 inches of snow overnight, but then if we get any more during the morning or possibly into the afternoon, we could get as much as maybe another 2 to 4 inches of snow moving in. So we'll see what happens. We'll have more in your forecast in a few more minutes.
All right. Thanks so much, Bob. Well, we will soon know who the new faces will be on the Billings City Council. The city is broken up into 5 wards, and there are 5 council seats up for grabs. Q2's Mitch Laggy checks in from the county courthouse with more on today's election. Mitch.
Well, it's the night of the election here in Yellowstone County, where voters in Billings will decide on 5 new people to represent them on the Billings City Council, and voters in Laurel will decide whether or not to spend $405,000 on some land acquisition for some new parts of the school building. By 3 p.m. Tuesday, a little less than half of the ballots issued had been returned to the Yellowstone County Elections Office. And if you haven't, there's still a chance to cast your ballot. The Yellowstone County Courthouse is accepting ballots until 8 p.m. Tuesday night. And since I've been standing here, I've been seeing a steady trickle of people moving in and out of the courthouse with ballots in their hands. So we expect those turnout numbers to rise a little bit before initial results start coming out this evening. Stay with KTVQ on air and online for your latest election results. Back to you guys in the studio.
All right. Thanks so much, Mitch. Now, in the past, the county elections office has released initial results shortly after the ballot drop-off deadline of 8 p.m. Well, today another Republican joined the race for Montana Secretary of State, bringing the total number of GOP candidates to 4. This newest candidate already holds another statewide office. Supreme Court Clerk Bowen Greenwood announced his candidacy as State Republican Party headquarters in Helena today. He says he likes his current job, which he won in the election, but Greenwood says it's important for Republicans to hang on to the Secretary of State seat and its election overseeing powers, and that he believes he's the best candidate to do it. He noted that he has experience working in the office and is a proven conservative and has already shown he can win a statewide election. The other Republicans in the race are Senate President Scott Sales of Bozeman, Deputy Secretary of State Christy Jacobson, and State Representative Forrest Mandeville of Columbus. But Greenwood says he will not be criticizing his primary opponents.
You know, I'm not here to run against anybody. I am going to get to the primary, and you're never going to hear me say a negative word about any of those folks in public. I think they're fine human beings. We generally agree. But I don't think any of them have exactly the same combination that I do of abilities and experience that will help us win the election.
Now, the only Democrat in the race for the open Secretary of State seat is State Representative Bryce Bennett of Missoula. Well, and there's more news from across our state. On tonight's statewide news at 9 o'clock, we'll take to the air. The Bozeman Airport has landed a new airline, and that means more nonstop flights. Join me for that story and more tonight on the CW. But first, on tonight's 5:30 news, as insulin prices skyrocket, so do the number of diabetes cases. Tonight, for National Diabetes Month, we'll let you know the latest threat. And later, Q2's Athlete of the Week dominated soccer for Central, and he's a nationally ranked kicker in football. Scott has his story.
You're watching MTN News with Jeanelle Slade and Russ Riesinger. Storm Tracker weather with Bob McGuire. And sports with Scott Green. This is the 5:30 news on Q2, Montana's news leader.